Billionaire freezes in his steps when a street kid yells, "Don't get in." The night in Havenfield buzzed with electric anticipation. The city was alive, drenched in a kaleidoscope of neon lights, as if even the stars blushed with envy. Crowds swarmed the streets, laughter mingling with the sound of clinking glasses and the distant wail of sirens. It was the annual charity gala, the kind that promised glamour beyond imagination and whispers of secrets hidden beneath designer gowns. Victor Harrington stood at the curb, a pillar of confidence wrapped in a tailored suit. His presence turned heads. After all, he was the billionaire whose name echoed through the skyscrapers and plush lounges of the city. The sleek black car behind him purred like a quietly caged lion, waiting to whisk him away into the glittering night. Then it happened. A voice cut through the clamor. "Don't go in!" Startled, he turned. A scrappy kid, dirt-smudged and wild-eyed, practically threw himself into Victor's path. Leo, they called him. The street was his playground, and there was something fierce in his tone, something urgent that made Victor's heart skip. "What?" Victor blinked, the world around him dimming. Leo's voice crackled with desperation, and the shadows danced in the alley behind him. Dark figures lingered, their eyes glinting like snakes, poised to strike. The kid stepped closer, his breath ragged, as if he had just run a marathon. "They're planning something bad," he stammered, glancing over his shoulder as if the very shadows held terrible secrets. "Can't go in there, trust me." Victor felt a tightness in his chest, a knot of fear and intrigue weaving itself around his thoughts. He didn't know this kid, not really, but the sincerity in Leo's eyes struck a chord. It was as if the boy peeked into not just Victor's world, but into the darker corners of it that he chose to ignore. "What do you know about the gala?" Victor asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "I know what they do to people like me, and I know you're part of it," Leo replied, his words sharp and painful like shards of glass. The truth hung between them, heavy and tangible. The atmosphere shifted. Laughter faded, replaced by whispers and shocked expressions from the onlookers. Victor's mind raced. His charity efforts, after all these years, had been to uplift the struggling, the forgotten, the ones who slipped through the cracks. But had he been duped along the way? "Let's get out of here," he said, feeling an unfamiliar pull toward this scrappy stranger. Victor hadn't planned for a detour tonight, but as he moved to walk away, he could feel eyes boring into him, piercing through his carefully curated world. Just then, a familiar face slipped through the crowd. His assistant, nervous and wide-eyed, caught Victor's gaze, her expression crumbling into panic. Betrayal. His stomach dropped. What was happening? He was determined to figure it out. As Victor turned back to Leo, ready to forge an unexpected alliance, something in the shadows flickered. A connection between their pasts, dark and tangled, that threatened to rip apart the very fabric of the lives they thought they knew. "Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And since you're here, smash that like button because it really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments which city are you watching from. I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact." Victor felt the ground shift beneath him. The crowd seemed to blur, their sparkling outfits fading into the background. His heart raced, pounding against his chest as he stared at Leo, the kid who had thrown himself into his path with such urgency. Betrayal still flickered in his assistant's eyes, gnawing at him. "What do you mean I'm part of it?" Victor responded, his voice shaky. He had spent years building his reputation on kindness, a fortress of goodwill. The idea that it could all crash down felt unreal. Around them, whispers surged like waves. Suddenly, Leo's gaze flickered toward something behind Victor. "Run!" he shouted. Instinct kicked in. Victor barely had time to react. He grabbed Leo's arm and yanked him back just as they emerged from the alley. A sharp bang echoed through the night, a gunshot, The sound cut through the laughter and music like a knife. Gasps filled the air as people turned, horror etched on their faces. Adrenaline surged. Victor didn't think, he just ran. Leo followed closely, the kids' feet scuffing against the pavement. They darted past startled gala-goers, Victor's mind spinning. Who was the target? Why was this happening? They ducked behind a parked car, breathless. Victor's heart thundered, the face of panic painted on him. "What the hell was that?" he gasped. Leo pressed his back against the cold metal, wide-eyed. "They're after you," he breathed, his voice trembling. "It's all connected. You don't know who you're dealing with." Just then, Victor's assistant Clara burst into view, her face pale. "Victor, you need to come with me now." She reached for his arm, her voice low and urgent. "Clara, what is going on?" Victor barked, confusion mixing with fear. "It's not what you think." "I tried to protect you." Clara's eyes shone with desperation. Victor felt a chill creep up his spine. "Protect him from what?" "Get away from him," Leo warned, voice harsh. "She's not on your side." Victor's gaze darted between Clara and Leo. "What do you mean?" His voice cracked, uncertainty gnawing at him. Then, from the shadows, a tall figure emerged, face obscured under a dark hood. Victor felt a jolt of recognition. He had seen that figure before, standing close enough at some other gala, lingering near the back where secrets were exchanged. Victor Harrington, the figure drawled, voice smooth and cold. "You've been blind to your own empire." "Who are you?" Victor demanded, fists clenched. The figure stepped closer, the moonlight uncovering a familiar tattoo slithering along the exposed wrist, one he knew all too well. "You should have listened to the boy, Miss Harrington. Or should I say Victor?" Victor's stomach dropped. The truth rushed over him like cold water. He had once made a deal, long ago, a decision nestled deep under layers of wealth and success, something he had convinced himself he could control. But could he? What had he really built? Before he could grasp the implications, the figure waved a hand, a smirk playing at the corner of their lips. "Your entire life is a lie, Victor. And tonight the facade begins to crumble." The realization hit like a tidal wave. Everything he had known, every charity gala, every donation, twisted in ways he couldn't begin to fathom. He turned to Leo, who looked equally lost, and then back at Clara, who had a pained expression. "You brought me into this?" Victor's voice was barely more than a whisper, betrayed by confusion. The figure's laughter echoed around them, chilling and hollow. "I guess you'll find out soon enough, billionaire." As Victor's world spiraled, he could feel the ground shift beneath him. And as the shadows closed in, he knew one truth. He was no longer just a billionaire. He was part of a game far darker than he had ever imagined. What would he discover next? And who could he trust? The last words hung in the air, slithering into Victor's mind like smoke. "Your entire life is a lie, Victor." He felt a primal instinct to fight, but was paralyzed by the weight of the figure's revelation. Everything he thought he knew shattered like glass. "Get away from them," Leo shouted, adrenaline still pulsing through him. "They're using you." "Who?" Victor's voice cracked, panic clawing at his throat. Clara stepped back, confusion etched across her face. The crowd had shifted too, their murmurs swelling into a chaotic chorus, eyes wide as they bore witness to the unfolding drama. The figure grinned, reveling in Victor's disarray. "You thought your money made a difference? It's merely a tool, a weapon in the hands of those who know how to wield it." In the crowd, gasps erupted, some running, some pulling out their phones to record. Victor's mind spiraled. He wanted to believe that he was still in control, that this was all a bad dream he could wake up from. But the truth clawed at him. Then, a flash of light, a sudden explosion ripped through the night, sending bystanders stumbling and screaming. Dust billowed around them, and the ground shook like a living creature. Victor was thrown back, the force slamming him into a parked car, stars exploding behind his eyes. "Victor!" Leo cried out, scrambling to his side. Amid the pandemonium, their world had morphed into a war zone. "We have to move." Is everyone okay? Victor struggled to his feet, shaking off the shock. But Clara was gone. The panic on her face haunted him. Whispers of betrayal lingering in the air. It doesn't matter. Let's go, Leo urged, grabbing Victor's arm. They staggered into the chaos, dodging horrified onlookers. And broken glass. The din was overwhelming. Screams, sirens, and the crackle of debris falling. But just as they turned a corner, Victor caught sight of Clara standing frozen, a stark contrast against the cacophony surrounding her. Something glimmered in her hand, a small device, a remote. "Clara!" he shouted, but the words felt heavy, stuck in his throat. Her eyes darkened, revealing a truth Victor never anticipated. "I didn't want you to find out like this," she said, voice steadier than the chaos demanded. "But it's too late now." "Too late for what?" He stepped closer, but Leo yanked him back. "You're with them? I was trying to save you." "You're in deeper than you know," she replied, her voice steady, unwavering amidst the storm. Suddenly the hooded figure shifted, a sinister smile creeping across their face. "Ah, the puppeteer speaks. Think you can protect him, Clara? You were the best asset we had." Victor felt his heart slam. "What do you mean?" Before she could respond, the figure waved the remote. Detonators, lights flashing. The crowd gasped, moving in panic. "Clara," Victor shouted, anger and betrayal coiling in his stomach. "You have to stop this." But then the figure laughed, a sound that echoed like a gunshot amid the chaos. "It's too late, Victor. The game has just begun." Seconds felt like hours as Clara's expression faltered, caught between loyalty and a new allegiance. The air smelled electric, charged with impending doom. Heart racing, he reached for Leo, who looked up at him, fragile hope written on his face. "What now?" Leo whispered. Victor scanned the scene, desperation clawing at his chest. He wasn't just a billionaire anymore. He was a target, a pawn in a play he hadn't even known existed. Suddenly, a blinding flash illuminated the darkness around them. Another explosion, a blaring horn. With a surge of instinct, Victor stepped back, pulling Leo with him. "Run, now." In that moment, everything shifted again. Relationships twisted, secrets hung heavy like shrouded specters. And Victor knew one thing: trust was a luxury he could no longer afford. As they raced toward an uncertain escape, Victor couldn't shake the feeling of dread chasing them. What truth would spill out next? And more importantly, who would be left standing when the dust finally settled? Victor and Leo sprinted into the chaos, hearts pounding, thoughts racing. The ground felt like it could swallow them whole at any moment. They zigzagged through startled faces, each flicker of fear echoing in Victor's mind. This was madness. His entire world had flipped upside down in seconds. "Where are we going?" Leo shouted over the din, eyes darting. "Anywhere but here," Victor gasped, adrenaline surging through him. They dodged fleeing guests, the scent of burnt rubber and smoke hanging in the air like a heavy fog. Something inside him burned, a fierce instinct to survive. Then he spotted chaos, unmoving. Her face was pale, the weight of her secrets clinging to her like a heavy cloak. An urge pulled at Victor. He had to know what she was doing. "We need to get her," he yelled, pointing toward her. "Are you insane?" Leo pulled Victor back, panic flashing across his face. "She's not on your side." But Victor couldn't shake the bond they once shared. He broke free, pushing through the mass of bodies, until he was just a few feet away from Clara. He could see the remote slipping from her fingers, chaos swirling around her like a deadly dance. "Clara, we need to talk," he yelled, desperation clawing at his throat. "Now." She looked up, fear clouding her eyes. Her lips trembled, and for a split second, Victor thought he saw a flicker of something, maybe regret. But before he could wrap his mind around it, a blinding flash erupted nearby. Everyone ducked. The noise was deafening. Victor shielded his face, heart pounding so loud he could barely hear anything else. "Let's go." Leo grabbed his arm, pulling him away from the chaos. But Victor wrestled free, his instinct to confront Clara overpowering his survival instincts. "What's happening?" he yelled, but his words were drowned out by the shouts and cries all around. As he closed in on Clara, the figure in the dark hood stepped out again, looming over her like a monstrous shadow. "Time to make your choice," the figure said, voice smooth and mocking. "Stay away from her," Victor shouted. But a wave of dread washed over him. The figure wasn't just ominous. They were connected to Clara. "I'm sorry, Victor," Clara whispered, her eyes darting toward the figure. The betrayal in her voice twisted like a knife in Victor's gut. "No, you don't have to do this," Victor cried out, reaching for her. But it was too late. Clara pressed a button on the remote. In a shocking heartbeat, a burst of light exploded upward, illuminating the entire square. But it wasn't just a flash. It was a data feed, images flooding the screen, shocking truths streaming across the chaos, hidden bank deals, illicit contracts, names, and faces of those involved. Victor's own name appeared, blinking ominously among the rest. Gasps erupted from the crowd. Fingers pointed. Whispers turned into a deafening roar. Victor felt his heart drop. "What have you done?" he choked out, the ground around him disappearing as if he were trapped in reverse. "This is your reality, Victor," the figure laughed, reveling in the chaos. "Welcome to the game." Victor stumbled back, vision blurring. This was all too much. His life, his wealth, his image, all laid bare in an instant. He felt sick, chaos swirling around him like an unforgiving storm. But in that moment of sheer horror, Leo suddenly jolted to attention, eyes wide, mouth open, as if he had just uncovered the biggest secret of all. "Wait," he said slowly, glancing from the figure to Victor, his voice trembling. "This isn't what it looks like, is it?" And there it was, the dawning realization exploding in Victor's chest. "What do you mean?" he snapped, fury and confusion swirling together. Leo's expression shifted. I know who you are, Victor, and I know who that is." Victor's heart raced. "What are you talking about?" But even before Leo could answer, the figure took a step forward, grinning like a cat that had caught the canary. In the chaos, everything seemed to freeze. Victor searched Leo's face for answers, and in that moment, the crowd erupted again, screaming as the truth of Victor's world began to unravel completely. "What are you hiding?" Victor shouted at Leo, frustration and fear battling for control. "Your life isn't what you think. Nothing is what it seems," Leo cried, eyes wide like saucers. A sudden realization rocked Victor to his core. His hands trembled. "Then what am I?" A deafening silence fell over the crowd as they braced for the response. The figure's smoke widened, and Leo's voice quivered in the air, hanging heavily between them. "Are you really ready to hear the truth?" Victor's breath hitched. He wasn't sure he was ready for any more secrets to swirl into the chaos, but he knew he had to know. The weight of the world pressed down on him, and as the tension hung like a thick fog, he realized nothing would ever be the same again. What was coming next? And how deep did this rabbit hole really go? Victor's heart raced, each beat thrumming against an unrelenting tide of fear and confusion. The figure's eyes flickered like fireflies in the darkness, taunting him. "Are you really ready to hear the truth?" Leo's words echoed in his mind, heavy with implications. "I have to know," Victor shouted, desperate to peel back the layers of this chaos. Leo stared at him, trembling. "Victor, your whole life, it's not just a lie. It was a setup, a trap." "What trap?" Victor demanded, stepping closer, feeling the panic pressing in from all sides. The hooded figure laughed, a sinister melody that twisted Victor's insides. "Everything you built was meant to fail, but now, my dear Victor, you are the centerpiece. You think you hold the power? You're naive." "What do you want from me?" Victor shouted. "Just tell me." Suddenly, without warning, the hooded figure's hand shot forward, pointing directly at Leo. "Kill the boy, and you can walk away," they said, voice dripping with darkness. Victor felt his blood run cold. "What? No, That's not. But before he could finish, the ground beneath them rumbled. A low growl reverberated through the air, shaking Victor to his core. People screamed, tumbling over each other as if pushed by an unseen force. Get out, Victor urged, grabbing Leo's arm, but the chaos had locked them in place. A blinding flash illuminated the square. Blinking against the brightness, Victor staggered, his heart in his throat. The flash faded, and there, in its wake, stood a massive structure. A high wall that hadn't been there seconds before, rising abruptly to seal off the square from the outside world. Gasps echoed through the crowd as voices rose in panic. Victor squinted, taking it all in. The figure grinned, their smirk broader now. Welcome to your new reality. But it was Leo who gasped next, eyes widening in shock as he stared at the wall. No, it can't be. What? Victor pressed, confusion spilling over. Before Leo could respond, the wall began to shimmer. Images flickered across its surface. Victor's past, twisted memories spilling into view. Old faces, betrayals, moments that had shaped him, including Clara laughing in a meeting, shaking hands that turned to darkness. And then, a sudden jolt of recognition. A picture of a woman, older, stern, and watching him with an intensity that pierced right through him. Who is that? Victor asked, a lump rising in his throat. That's her, Leo murmured, paler than Victor had ever seen him. That's your mother. A sharp breath caught in Victor's throat. I don't understand. She vanished when I was a kid. Victor, Leo whispered. She didn't vanish, she became part of this. She's tied to everything. What are you saying? Victor's heart pounded, a pit growing in his stomach. It's bigger than you know. Your entire life. Maybe you were raised this way on purpose. It's all part of the game. You're linked to something far darker. You're not just a player, you're the main target. Victor felt the ground he stood on fracture. His mother, his childhood, his life, had all been a part of a plan he'd never known existed. Betrayal gripped him, tightening like a vice. No, he shouted desperately. But the weight of the truth pressed down, suffocating. The shadowy figure leaned closer, voice like silk. It's time you face the reality of your bloodline, Victor. This is only the beginning. Suddenly, everything around them exploded. A flare of chaos erupted, fire and voices blending. Into an unbearable cacophony, sirens blared and the crowd surged, people stumbling, falling, screaming. Victor felt Leo's grip slip, but before he could turn, something cold brushed against the back of his neck. I've always been watching you, Victor, the figure whispered, voice low and sinister. And now, the true game begins. As darkness enveloped him, Victor felt his heart pound, crashing against the walls of his mind. Was he truly just a pawn in this twisted game? And what would he sacrifice to claim his freedom, to unlock the secrets buried deep within his own blood? The sudden darkness felt suffocating, but a spark ignited in his chest. Uncertainty clawed at him, but then another thought crept in. Was there a way to fight back? To reclaim not just his life, but the very truth of who he was? Time seemed to stretch, and amid the screaming and chaos, Victor took a deep breath. I will find out, he whispered, determination seeping back in. What lay ahead could shatter him or set him free, and he had to know which it would be. But where would he even start, and who could he possibly trust anymore? Victor felt a surge of determination swell within him, but just as quickly, the ground shifted beneath his feet. Dark figures again moved through the chaos, looming closer, shadows dancing like phantoms. They were coming for him. Panic tightened Victor's chest as he darted a glance toward Leo, we need to. But a blast of sound cut through the air, louder than the sirens, drowning his voice. A massive figure burst through the crowd, a hulking shape cloaked in a radiant white suit, haloed by the chaos. It was too clean, too immaculate against the wreckage, and Victor couldn't place him. The figure marched forward, eyes locked on Victor, and in that instant everything became still. Victor Harrington, the figure bellowed, voice like thunder. You are the key to everything. Questions ricocheted in Victor's mind as the crowd parted. Gasps erupted, the whispers spiraling into a frenzy. Worry turned to horror. Was this some sort of game? Some twisted reality he was part of? "Who are you?" Victor demanded, his throat dry. The figure stopped. "I am Marcus," he declared, an imposing presence commanding attention. "And you are standing at the threshold of your true destiny." Leo shot Victor a look. "We need to go," he urged, still gripping Victor's arm, but the weight of Marcus's words anchored him. "Your mother," Marcus said, voice smooth but firm. "She's been looking for you." Victor's heart sank deeper. "She didn't abandon you. It was all part of the plan." "What plan?" Victor felt as if the ground was crumbling beneath him once more. "What the hell are you talking about?" Marcus took a step closer, a smirk dancing across his sharp features. "A lineage built on power, Victor. You are more than you think. Your blood runs deeper than charity drives." Victor's heart raced. "Stop! You don't know anything about me." But Marcus continued unshakable. "You will soon, because tonight the truth will be unveiled." The wall behind him shimmered again, revealing fresh images. Victor's childhood home, memories twisted with shadows, a woman standing in a doorway whispering. A tighter shot revealed her face, his mother, haunted but proud. Victor's breath caught. Was it real? Was it a trap? Leo was tugging at him again, but Victor couldn't pull his eyes away. "She's alive?" His voice broke, hope flaring amid the chaos. "What did you do to her?" "Nothing she didn't agree to," Marcus replied, as if pulling strings on a marionette. "Your entire existence was crafted for a specific purpose." The truth roared back, washing over Victor. His entire life had been a performance, part of a game where he was the central piece. Betrayals cut like knives all around him. Victor felt a lump rise in his throat. As if sensing the shift, the hooded figure smirked. "You think this is all revelation? Wait for the climax." Suddenly, there was a loud crash from the back of the crowd. A group of armed men surged forward, faces obscured, rifles glinting under the lights, and panic rippled through the crowd. Screams erupted. People scattered in every direction, but Victor stayed frozen, eyes wide in shock. "Marcus!" Leo shouted, pulling Victor back from the chaotic scene. "We have to move." Marcus turned, unfazed by the chaos erupting around him. "Are you willing to sacrifice everything for the truth?" he asked Victor, voice eerily calm. Victor met his gaze, struggling to find clarity amidst human fear. What would he sacrifice? What truth did he want? Then, a burst of noise tore through the air. An explosion somewhere close. Shouts of panic, chaos escalated. And just as the smoke began to blanket the area, the unthinkable happened. The hooded figure began to peel away their mask, revealing a familiar face. Clara's, eyes wild with a mix of fear and defiance. "It's not over yet, Victor. You don't understand the stakes." Time froze for Victor, eyes darting between Clara and Marcus. What was happening? "Why?" he shouted, perspiration lacing his words. "Why all of this?" But before she could answer, the crowd surged again, chaos at their heels, the weight of betrayal settling heavy on Victor's shoulders. "Victor!" Leo cried, pulling him back. "We have to run. It's a trap." Was it? Who could he trust? In one heartbeat, the ground seemed to shake again, the truth swirling into darkness. And Victor could only wonder, would he find his mother in the end? Or was he trapped in a nightmare of his own making? The world spun like a web unraveling. And in that chaotic moment, he knew one thing. Everything he thought he knew was at stake. What if the real truth was darker than he ever imagined? Victor felt the air crackle, charged with danger and betrayal. His heart hammered in his chest. Everything around him was chaos. The explosions, the shouting, the panicked crowd. Clara's eyes glinted with fear and something else. Had it always been a lie? "Victor," Leo shouted, pulling him back from the confusion. "We need to get out of here now." But Victor didn't move. He couldn't, not until he understood. "Clara," he yelled again, desperate. "Victor, please," she pleaded, panic swirling in her voice. "You don't realize what's at stake." "Then tell me," he demanded. But just then, the hooded figure stepped closer, their voice rising over the chaos. "You think this ends here, don't you? It's just the beginning." A sudden siren wailed from the distance, and people surged past like a tide. The air felt thick and heavy, as if a storm was brewing. Marcus, the imposing figure in a white suit, stood tall amidst the panic, eyes locked onto Victor. "You're about to find out how deep this rabbit hole goes." Victor wanted to fight the fear gnawing at him, but it gripped him like a vice. He glanced at Leo, who looked terrified, more than anyone else in the square. "What's happening? What does he mean?" "Focus," Leo shouted over the noise. "Clara is not what she seems." Victor turned to Clara. She trembled, her gaze flickering between fear and resolve. "You don't understand," Clara whispered, barely audible. "This was never about you." "What do you mean?" Victor's heart raced. "I was sent to watch over you," she breathed, voice shaking as she pointed a trembling finger at Marcus. "You were the key, but everything's changed now." And that's when it hit him, the truth slicing through them like a razor. None of this is real. You're all part of a game." Suddenly, the ground beneath them shook anew, harder this time. The crowd shrieked, and Victor stumbled. Is this what betrayal felt like? His whole life felt like a stage, and he was just another player. But then a thunderous crack echoed through the air, and everyone's eyes turned toward the sky. A massive figure emerged, not from the ground, but breaking through the roof of a nearby building. Dust and debris rained down as a mechanical beast burst forth, metal glinting under the neon lights, part drone, part monstrous machine. "Retreat," someone shouted in the crowd, but there was nowhere to run. Victor's breath caught in his throat. The machine turned, laser sights flicking over the panicking crowd, settling on Victor. "Victor!" Leo screamed, pulling him back. But Victor stood frozen, heart racing, eyes locked onto the beast. A monstrosity that shouldn't exist. "Why? Why is this happening?" Victor yelled, voice echoing in the chaos. "Because your mother wanted it this way," Marcus said smoothly, a twisted smile crawling across his lips. "She set this in motion long before you were born." Betrayal bit deep, blood rushing in Victor's ears. His mind churned with confusion. It was all a lie, a trap laid by the very people he trusted. "No!" he shouted. "I don't believe you." But then Clara stepped forward, eyes filled with pain. "You have to believe me, Victor. Your past holds the key to everything. If you don't face it, you'll lose everything." The laser sights from the creature flickered, targeting Victor. Panic tightened his chest, and reality twisted in ways he couldn't comprehend. Then the machine roared to life and chaos erupted. A flash of light, a surge of heat, and in that moment, Victor felt a sharp pain in his shoulder. Something metallic had hit him. He glanced down, horrified to see blood oozing from a small wound. Time slowed as he met Clara's gaze, a haunting mixture of regret and sorrow. "Victor!" Leo yelled, pulling him back, but Clara's words echoed in his mind. His mother, his life, the truth he had been running from came crashing down. Everything was connected, every betrayal intertwined. As the world spun around him, the laser sights buzzed ominously, and Victor braced himself, not knowing what would happen next or who he could trust. Would this be the end or the beginning of something far worse? Victor felt the heat radiating from the machine, a monstrous shadow looming as its lights flashed ominously. The air crackled, tension thick enough to slice through. Blood pulsed in his ears. He glanced over at Leo, heart racing, breath hitching. They were cornered, caught between chaos and a truth that threatened to unravel everything. "Victor!" Leo shouted, eyes wild. "We have to move!" But time seemed to freeze. Clara's gaze flickered from the mechanical beast to Marcus, her face a blend of determination and fear. "Please, just listen to me," she pleaded. But the world around them was spinning into a darker abyss. Marcus grinned, his confidence unwavering. "You have a choice, Victor. Will you stand and fight, or will you run away and let the game end you?" Suddenly, an explosion rocked the ground. Dust and debris rained down. The crowd erupted into chaos. Screams of Terror cut through the air like knives. Victor stumbled back, his shoulder throbbing from the earlier injury, his vision narrowed by the smoke and pandemonium. "Get back!" Leo yelled, yanking Victor away from the encroaching horror. They collided against a wall of panicking bodies, pushing and shoving to escape the chaos. But then something unexpected happened. A blinding flash of green light burst from the machine. Victor shielded his eyes, but the radiance cut through, illuminating everything like the sun had exploded. His heart hammered as he tried to make sense of the light. And then came the sound, a voice booming and powerful, breaking through the chaos. "Enough!" The panic froze. Gasps turned to silence. The light dimmed, revealing a figure standing atop the machine, exuding an aura of authority. Tall, commanding, and with a presence that enveloped the square, she was stunning, unmistakably regal. Victor's eyes widened. "Mom?" he breathed, heart rushing. "Victor," she called, her voice slicing through the suffocating tension. "You need to listen." The crowd was frozen in shock, whispers filling the air. "Is that?" Victor's thoughts raced. Clara stepped back, her eyes wide with disbelief. "No, it can't be." His mother extended her hand toward him, but confusion twisted in Victor's chest. "What do you mean? You left. You were gone." A mix of anger, betrayal, and hope threatened to tear him apart. "I had to protect you," she said, urgency lacing her words. "Everything they told you, it's a lie." Victor shook his head, struggling against the tide of emotions crashing over him. "But why? Why all of this?" "I'm part of the consortium, Victor," she shouted, shocking every ear in the vicinity. "They'll stop at nothing to control you, to control us. They've used you as bait." The truth struck like lightning. It shattered every assumption Victor had about his life, his family. Clara's expression hardened, shock morphing into anger. "You put him in danger," she yelled, taking a step toward his mom. "How could you?" Victor's heart raced. Everything was spiraling. Who to trust? But before he could process the chaos, Marcus took a step forward, eyes burning with fury. "You had no right to interfere, Alice," he roared. "Stay away from him." His mother shot back, fierce and unyielding. "I'll protect my son." "What is happening?" Victor's voice rose in desperation. "What do you mean you are part of the consortium?" She took a breath, and the confidence faltered for just a moment. "It's complicated, Victor. I wanted you safe. I thought," her voice cracked, "I thought I could handle it." A wave of disbelief crashed over Victor. "Handle what? My whole life? You chose to walk away?" "Enough!" Marcus barked, the machine rumbling beneath him. "Time is running out. You are not part of the elite, Victor. You're just a pawn, and as long as she's here, your life is in danger." In that moment, the atmosphere shifted dramatically. The ground shook again, and Victor felt a riptide of dread pull at him. Clara's eyes darted between the three of them, realization dawning. "What do you mean, a pawn?" she whispered. As she spoke, the machine whirred ominously. Then, without warning, panels began to slide open. An array of weapons slicked out, your pulse racing, hands trembling. Victor stared wide-eyed. "What have you done?" The realization crashed over him like icy water. Everything he believed, his mother's love, Clara's loyalty, even the fabric of his existence, was unraveling. In that instant, his mother pulled him closer, urgency in her eyes. "You need to trust me, Victor. Whatever happens next, it's the key to everything." And just when he thought it couldn't get worse, the ground beneath them churned and cracked open. A gaping chasm erupted, swallowing screams and chaos whole. As the world collapsed around him, Victor's heart raced, battling between the undeniable pull of family and the fear of betrayal. "Victor!" Leo yelled as he reached for him. But in the chaos, Victor felt himself slipping into the darkness. How deep did this rabbit hole go? And as he tumbled into the unknown, he knew one thing: trust was a fragile illusion, and salvation was a treacherous game. Just as Victor felt himself spiraling into darkness, a blinding flash enveloped him. It was as if time itself had drawn back a curtain, revealing a truth he hadn't expected. The horrible noise faded into a low hum, and he found himself standing in an expansive, dimly lit room, surrounded by screens flickering with images of his life. Memories, moments he thought he knew. But they weren't the ones he remembered. They were altered. "What is this place?" Victor gasped, heart racing. "Welcome to the truth, Victor," his mother's voice echoed from somewhere unseen. "This is where we control the narrative." He turned, eyes wide. "What do you mean, control what narrative?" Then, abruptly, the room shifted. The screens flickered, and he caught sight of Leo standing by his side, just as confused. "Are you okay?" Leo asked, glancing around nervously. "Yeah, but I need answers," Victor replied, his chest tight with fear. Clara appeared beside them, her face ashen. "This isn't right. Where's Marcus?" The screens continued flashing, revealing a series of calculations, plans, faces. Victor squinted. Among the faces was one he never expected, his own. Only it wasn't the him he knew. This version seemed darker, more sinister, with an unsettling grin that sent chills up his spine. "That's you," Leo whispered, voice trembling. "No, it can't be," Victor protested. "I would never." But then, the sound of footsteps echoed through the room, heavy, deliberate. From the shadows, a figure emerged, a taller, older version of him, face lined with years, yet just as captivating. Victor's heart stopped. It was him, his dreadfully twisted reflection. "A clone?" "Surprised to see me, Victor," the other. Victor grinned, a metallic edge to his voice. "I've been waiting for this moment." Clara's eyes darted back and forth between them. "This is impossible. You can't be real." The older Victor stepped closer, his presence overwhelming. "Oh, I'm very real. And so is everything you thought you knew about your family and this world." Victor felt a wave of nausea slam into him. "What do you want?" A sly smile crept across the older Victor's lips. "You're what I want. I'm not just a reflection. I'm the culmination of every dark deal your mother ever made." His words hung in the air, thick with impending doom. "Never trust a reflection," he continued. "I'm the one who's going to end this charade. You helped create this trap that has ensnared so many. Now you'll unlock its true power." "No," Victor shouted, stepping back, but the shadows danced closer, melding with the walls of the room. "I won't let you." Suddenly, the screens shifted again, this time displaying images of Clara and Marcus. Their faces were twisted in betrayal, revealing secrets that sent icy shivers down Victor's spine. "You think they care about you?" Victor's breath hitched. They had all been playing him. Every action, every word. It was a game, and he was merely a pawn. Leo stepped in front of Victor, eyes blazing. "Whatever you are, you won't take him down." The older Victor laughed, the sound hollow. "Oh, but I already have. And I will unleash the chaos you fear. You are nothing without me." Before Victor could react, the ground shifted again. A door opened behind the older version, leading to a swirling abyss. "Step into your destiny or burn in your failure," he sneered. Victor wrestled with the storm of emotions roaring within him. Behind him, Leo and Clara looked on, expressions tight with fear. Every moment felt stretched thin, as if the world itself held its breath, waiting for his next choice. Was this truly the reflection of who he could become, or the destiny he could escape? The chasm yawned open, filled with tormenting whispers that echoed ominously. What was the real truth behind this twisted game? Victor took a breath, heart pounding in his chest, knowing whatever choice he made next could change everything forever. As the chaos swirled around him, Victor took a step forward, shaking off the grip of fear. He refused to let the twisted version of himself dictate his fate. "No," he shouted, voice rising above the din. "I will not be your pawn." The older Victor's eyes glinted with something almost predatory. "You think you're stronger than this? You think you can rewrite your story?" A smirk spread across his face, sharp as shattered glass. You're just a reflection of my failures. Victor's heart pounded, each beat churning a mix of anger and defiance. You don't define me. I'm more than what you want to make me. He felt the warmth of Clara's presence behind him and Leo's steady grip on his arm. It was time to fight back. Together, Leo agreed, voice steady, looking straight at his old friend. Clara met Victor's gaze, her eyes filled with resolve. They were in this together, whatever it meant. With a surge of adrenaline, Victor strode forward, facing the looming figure head-on. You may have the shadows on your side, but I have the light, he declared. Every word like a hammer striking the anvil. Whatever you've built, I will tear it down. The ground shook, vibrating with the intensity of their collective resolve. The lights flickering on the screens warped into chaotic patterns as Victor reached out, rippling with energy. He could feel his mother's presence breathing life into him, grounding him in a way he had never known. Surrender your power, or be swallowed by it. The older Victor snarled, the transformation of the room intensifying, a whirlwind of shadows swirling around him. But Victor stood firm, heart racing, aligned with both Clara and Leo. We choose our fate. We stand together. His voice echoed with passion, and as if on cue, the screens flashed the truth, exposing the darkness that lay hidden in the consortium's plans. From above, the lights cascaded and illuminated the truth. Look, Leo shouted, pointing at the screens that revealed faces of allies and enemies alike. This is how they manipulate and control what is real, Victor shouted, his voice gaining strength, is our will to stand up and fight for something better. With each word, strength surged through him, strengthening the bond between the three of them. The mechanical beast trembled, reactively responding to Victor's declaration of defiance. An illusion can't hold power over truth. Clara shouted, joining in, her courage flickering brightly against the shadows. The older Victor staggered, the malevolent smirk fading. What have you done? He hissed, the edges of his form beginning to flicker like a faulty projection. With a final scream, the dark energy imploded into oblivion, unraveling into motes of light. The room brightened, the weight of shadow lifting. Victor blinked away the remnants of darkness, watching as the walls of the chamber dissolved, revealing the night sky above. The stars glittered brightly, holes in the tapestry of their earlier chaos. Victor turned to Clara and Leo, emotions swirling, relief, gratitude, and a hint of something more profound. We did it, together. Clara smiled, tears glimmering in her eyes. It's time to rebuild, Victor. We can change things. That's right, Leo added, confidence radiating from him. You're not just a billionaire. You're a force for good. Victor nodded, heart swelling with renewed purpose. He took a deep breath, finally able to envision a future free from manipulation and deceit. I want to find my mother. I owe it to her and to myself to discover who I really am. As they turned, prepared to move beyond the remnants of fear, a new dawn broke on the horizon. A promise of hope, honesty, and unbreakable bonds. But this journey isn't over. You have to subscribe right now so you don't miss any of the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button right now to feed the algorithm and help us spread the message. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about the ending. Let's get that dialogue flowing. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how this ends. You have to show your support. Only real fans understand the importance of standing together in this community.